Hello. This is a video to go over the Spanish Flashcard app, just to show how it's built, a basic structure of things. So let's look at the app first. They're just flashcards, right? It has the question up top, a picture about the question, and then the translation. So again, hora, we have a picture of a clock, or a stopwatch, or a handheld watch, and then the answer to it there. We also have audio for these, so if we click turn audio on,
Día,
you can hear the audio for the next page.
persona, hora,
We can do other quick things like change the dark theme, set the images to only show after a tap, so they're more like a hint. Camino is what? Maybe way.
año,
We also have different decks of cards. So you can pull up here, and we have the available cards. We have some verbs, nouns, house nouns,
buzón,
mailbox,
sala,
living room. So, quick, easy app, right? You just tap it. You can control whether or not that tap shows you the image, if the image is always showing, if it shows you the answer, if the answer is always showing.
habitación,
And we also, as one more thing, we have GIFs in there as well. So if you go to 5 verbs, verbs are kind of difficult to show as a still image, right? It's an action word. So,
decir,
decir, right? Just saying hi. Because decir is to say.
hacer,
Hacer, to do. Right? To-do list. And then we can change between these, and you see the little icons here that shows whether or not that information's been downloaded or not. Because one of the goals of this app is to make it work as offline as possible. Because it's also an Android app, right? We've deployed it to the Android App Store here, and you can download it. And not all of the data is contained in that one APK, but enough to where if you go to a deck and download it once, then it will work offline for you in the future. So you don't need the internet for it to be working. So let's look at
obtener,
an overview just of how it's structured. We'll start here with the main app.vue file. There's more details to go into this. For example, the majority of all the data is stored in Vuex. It's a state management package for Vue, and it's fantastic. I really like working with Vuex. I'm not going to go into that in this video, maybe in the next one, but just know that that's where a lot of the data is coming from, and I'll show you how it's mapped there, but we'll go over that in another video. This is just about the pretty much the markup and the main structure of the app. There's another thing to go over in another video as well of how we create those decks. All of that information is coming from a Google spreadsheet, and we're pulling it in. We're hitting a couple different APIs to grab the images, to grab the audio. So we can go over that in another video as well. Like I said, this is just for the structure of the app. So in app.vue, we have 2 main components, and that's this flashcard component and the action bar. All right, that's the flashcard that you can see, and the action bar at the bottom that has those menu buttons. We have 2 dialogues here for confirm download and download progress, and that just shows you the progress bar for downloading data or confirmation. So if you're downloading a lot of data, we show that first to make sure that you're on Wi-Fi and you're not going to use up all your cell phone data to download it. So pulling in those components here. And the main thing that this app.vue file does is just to reset our state. So all of the main functions in here are for whenever you're initializing the app, or if you're changing the theme. Right? We have one watcher, and here, this is a good place to introduce Vuex, at least from this side of things. So we're pulling in the map state function from Vuex. And then into our component here, we can set that as the computed variable for map state, and it's going to pull in isApp and dark theme. So we're storing those variables somewhere else in the store, but that allows us to map them into this component so that way we can use them. And then, for example, we can set up a watcher for the dark theme. So if the dark theme changes, if we toggle that to true, then we set the Vuetify theme to dark. By the way, Vuetify is the UI component that we're using here to make everything pretty, make everything beautiful. Okay, so whenever we're mounted, whenever the app starts up, we have a check here first for if this is app. So if this is running on an Android device, we add an event listener for device ready, and then we fire it then. Otherwise, we go ahead and initialize the data. And that initialization really just changes a few of our state variables, resetting them, and then it gets our deck list, which that is also done in that Vuex store to where we get the deck list, and then we check to see what we have locally, compare it with what we've gotten fresh, and then update that list. So let's look at our other components. We'll go through the dialogues first. Confirm download. Both of these dialogues, they are in charge of whether or not they're displayed on the screen, right? Nothing else actually triggers them to say that they're opened. They control that themselves by looking at the state. So, for example, in this confirm download, we have one local variable called opened. And if opened is true, then it's shown up on the screen. If it's false, then it's not, right? We have that linked over here to vModel is opened. So this dialog, it watches the state using map actions, map mutations, and map state. So where are we at? Proposed deck, map state, there we are. Computed, so we have one computed property, one computed variable, and that's proposed deck. And we're mapping that from our Vuex store. And then we watch that as well. So similar to what we're doing in app.view, we're just watching that variable to see if it changes, and if it changes, then that component is doing something based on that, right? App.view, it would change the theme. This one, if proposed deck changes, and if we have a name in that that variable, because that variable is an object, then we're setting open to true. So opened is if deck.name is true or exists. And then we have two local methods for map mutations and map actions. Because up here, if you click download, then it initiates a deck change using that proposed deck coming in there. Or if you cancel it, then we're setting the proposed deck here to blank. Okay, so the download progress, an even easier dialog, but again, that same state management type, the same state watcher, right? It's in control, in charge of whether or not it's opened. And it figures that out from mapping the state of download progress. And here we watch that download progress variable. And if it is anything other than -1, then this dialog opens up. So later on, whenever we're downloading data, we're changing the download progress as that data is downloading. And then whenever we're done, we're setting it back to -1, just to show that this dialog should close. And yeah, we have one local variable for opened. So whenever we're downloading data, then opened is going to be true because it's going to be something that's not -1 for our progress. And then that progress bar here is also linked to that same variable, and it will just slide across and showing our download progress. Nice and easy. Okay, two other components to go through. We have flashcards, and this is our component that is really in charge of taking up the screen space for the flashcard, and also has our animation transition. So that way whenever one flashcard changes, it allows it to slide off the screen. We use Vue's transition group for that, and the transition group expects an array of data in there, right? We have multiple items. So that's what we have this flashcard, and we're using V4 here. Really, we'll see later on that the card is always an array of one element, right? We don't have multiple cards in this array. We're controlling it individually on tap. So whenever you tap the card, we're resetting the array to a new array with one element. But that's why it's structured this way, and how that transition group works, and why we're using V4 there. So that way it will initiate that transition. And then this style right here is really just to handle that transition, the animation for it. We are using map getters here. So we are This is another property of the Vuex state, our getters. So we're just kind of formatting that card data on the way out whenever it's being requested. And we're computing that here so that way we map it to that card property. One more card to go over, or one more component, and that is our flashcard.view. This has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different main items in there. We have this item here, which is our question. Question has one, right? We're just in the card.question there. And we are setting a class for smaller text if that question has any words that are big. So for example, the word for ceiling fan has a really large word in it. I'm not going to try to pronounce it here. But if we notice that there is a large word in the question, then we set the font size to smaller so it fits on the screen. This is our image row. And again, we have a class whenever the blur hint is true. So we blur the image. If we're hiding the image, then we hide it with vshow, or we set the source of that card image. All of our data here is base64 encoded, so that's how we can map it in here. Is just is the card.image, because that all of the data for the image is kept in that card object. We do the same thing below with the audio. Right, the source is the card.audio. It's not a URL to some audio file. It's all kept right there. And again, going on that idea to make this an offline app, or to work as offline as possible. Because servers cost money. If you can make something that's front-end only, or front-end and leverages another cloud resource, for example, all of our card data is stored on Google Cloud Storage. So we don't really care about the traffic, right? 10 users or 1 million users, it all hits us about the exact same as far as the traffic goes. So this last bit is the answer. Again, we're showing it if hide answer is false, or blurring it here if we're blurring the answer, and showing it there. And a lot of this we're getting mapped from the Vuex state, right? Pulling map state in again. We're mapping if audio is enabled, show hints or show answers. And if any of those changes here, right, for show answers or show hints, then we are updating our local variables for hide hint, blur hint, hide image, blur image. The hint and the image are the same thing, so hide answer or blur answer. And the same thing for audio, right? If it's enabled, or if we disable it, we're pausing the audio. Okay, so whenever this is mounted, whenever we've changed cards and this is a new component, it's being displayed on the screen, we first initiate the audio to play if audio is enabled. We set our local variables for whether or not that image is showing, or if it's hidden, if the answer is showing, or if it's hidden, or if it's blurred. Whenever we're destroying this component, we're also going to go ahead and pause that audio. That way, as you're changing cards, if you're doing it rapidly, you don't hear multiple audios being played on top of each other. Whenever you tap it, we can see up here that we have an @click hits action, and our action method here. At first, it controls whether or not the hint is blurred. So if the hint is blurred, and if we say that we should show hints on tap, then we set blur hint to false. Same thing with image, or for the answer. If blur answer is true and show answer is supposed to happen on tap, then we show the answer. Or both those things don't come up, then we fire off a next card. And here's our one method to control if it's a big word. We're just taking the text in, splitting it on a space, and if any have the length of over 10, then we're saying it's a big word. So those are the main components of, see, right now it's called Learn Spanish Flashcards with Pictures. All right, you can get it in the Google Play Store, Learn Spanish Flashcards with Pictures. It's a free app, has no advertising, and it works offline. It's fun to download. You can also view the code on my Git repo for Learn Spanish. All the links will be in the video description. Yeah, let me know if you like it, if you have any questions. Use it, learn a language. Languages are great to learn. They help you keep thinking. Yeah, learn a language, communicate with people, understand how people think. Maybe in the next video we can go over this spreadsheet here that shows how we actually grab all that data. We leverage Google Sheets, and they have a translation function built in. Or we can go over Vuex and actually look at how all that data is stored. which we do a little bit differently versus if it's on the web or if it's on an Android device. Yeah, thanks for watching.